Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Perpetual Chess FIDE Candidates 2024 bonus pod. As promised, we have an insightful interview coming your way with legendary Dutch player, Grandmaster Jan Timman. We will get you to that momentarily. First, two things. Number one, thanks as always to our sponsor, Chessable.com. In addition to all their other opening, middle game, and tactics courses for Chessable Pro members, Grandmaster Alexyenko has a Chess Candidates 2024 course that you can check out and learn instructive tactics. There have been so many instructive moments, and I am sure there are more to come. The second thing I wanted to mention is, as always, when I have the honor of interviewing Grandmaster Timman, I called him from Skype on my computer to his phone. So those of you on YouTube have probably figured out by now that there is no video, and I'm generally pleased with the audio quality, but if it does sound different, that is why. So without further ado, let's hear Grandmaster Jan Timman's thoughts on the 2024 FIDE Candidates. Here it is. And we are honored, as always, to be joined by the legendary 9-time Dutch champion, award-winning author, 1993 World Championship finalist. I can't wait to hear his thoughts on what I have found to be a very entertaining candidates. But let's welcome him back, and I look forward to his opinion. Welcome back, Grandmaster Jan Timman.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, super excited to chat with you. I think this candidates, some people had mixed feelings going in. Obviously, without Magnus in the cycle, it's a bit odd, but I feel like it's really captivated the chess world. Have you been entertained by it?
So far, the tournament has been great. Yeah, the best candidates tournament I can remember. And I think that's mostly because of the participants, obviously.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting to hear because I feel that way, but obviously you have followed candidates, participated in candidates for decades longer than I have, with more knowledge than I have. So you think it's because of the participants? Do you think it's the younger generation that's making it stand out?
Yes, I think so. For example, before the tournament, the qualification method was not very convincing that FIDE used. So we could have had Giri and so, but actually in the last minute we got Gukesh and Firouzja. And of course Giri and so are also very strong and interesting players, but it's good to see the young guns at work.
Yeah, agreed. It would almost feel like another Sinkfield Cup or something if we had Giri and so in, but as it is, it's nice to have the younger generation, as you say. And is there a player in particular who has impressed you the most so far, Jan?
Yes, well, actually, my pre-tournament favorite was Gukesh, and he lives up to my expectations, I must say. Because I already noticed this in Wijkerzee. He has a tremendous power. He has a very good feeling for initiative. He's very good at calculating. And I think actually his only weakness at the moment, as I can see, is his play in time pressure.
Yeah, which got him in the Firouzja game.
Yes, not only in the Firouzja game, also in the game against Abbasov that he finally won. He played very well till a certain moment. Then he was short of time and he let it slip away. And finally he won anyway. But I think that he can still improve on that. If you take into account that he's only 17, it's sure that he will work on this.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing and very impressive that you tapped him beforehand, because I know he had a bad tournament going into the candidates. You didn't feel like that was much of a factor?
No, I don't think so. No, I think in general I look at what somebody is capable of. And in his case, I see also his progress. I thought actually that, of course, I saw many predictions that Caruana and Nakamura were the favorites, but it's a question of time. It's very hard to say how fast these young players like Praggnanandhaa and Gukesh develop their strengths. And we see that they're the favorites now.
Yeah, and Gukesh in particular, obviously we knew that their chess had dazzling heights. Prague perhaps had been a little more consistent, but Gukesh maybe displaying a higher potential at times. But what's impressed me most this tournament is his maturity. So it sounds like you had a suspicion going in that he would be able to handle the bright lights?
Yes, I don't know exactly. Yeah, but it's always difficult to say because, of course, all players are strong, except maybe for Abbasov, he's not of the same level. But I think that also a player like Firouzja is very strong, but his focus is not so strong at the moment.
Yeah. And we had a question along these lines from a listener. This is from Roy Lopes, who writes in to ask you. He says, Dear Grandmaster Jan Timman, as the Candidates Tournament approaches its critical rounds, what do you believe holds greater significance, the energy and the boldness of the new generation or the experience and solidity of the old guard?
Well, I think that in general, in such cases, the young generation has better nerves, and I think that is the most important factor in the final rounds. But of course, we will see, because I think that both Caruana and Nakamura have obviously chances to win the contest.
Yeah.
I think that you probably need to score +3. So it means that if, apart from Nepomniachtchi and Gukesh, the others have to score at least +2 in the final 4 rounds, which is not easy.
Yeah, quite hard. Although, do you feel like Abbasov, as you said, we knew going in, obviously a great player, but not quite on the level of these other players. But Firouzja didn't display great form yesterday. There was some controversy. Do you think that players will try to target him at this point?
And it's hard to say. I think that this first was a bit confusing for me. I think that the arbiter was right to tell him about the issues, because if somebody's disturbed, well, what can you do? But of course, you cannot say let's wait and we stopped around for a moment. He will lay a carpet. I mean, it's impossible.
Yeah, I mean. Sorry, go ahead.
But I think that Firouzja, he's making strange mistakes sometimes. Of course, you can always feel that he's a great player. And if he would concentrate and if he would work on chess hard, then he would get very far. But for example, against FIDE, he was lost right out of the opening, just due to bad preparation. Shouldn't happen in a candidates tournament.
Yeah, I was chatting with Grandmaster Daniel King, and he was saying that we've seen other top players working with most of the other participants, and with Firouzja, we're not as sure. Have you heard of any older, more established players working with him for this tournament?
Not really, no. I'm a bit surprised that he seems to be on his own.
Yeah.
So I think in the past he has worked, of course, with strong French grandmasters, yeah. But as far as I know, not for this tournament.
Yeah, and further back, of course, he worked with your friend Grandmaster Ivan Sokolov, who recently,
of course, yeah,
tweeted a picture of you, you two enjoying some food and some wine. Did Ivan share any thoughts on Firouzja? I mean, obviously, if it's in confidence, you don't have to repeat it, but I'm just curious.
Yes, well, he told me already, I think 4 or 5 years back, that he thought that Firouzja was becoming really strong, and he was an exceptional player, and he was right about that, of course. I remember I saw Firouzja playing in Hogeveen 2019. He was there with his father. Actually, at that point, his father asked me if I could be his second. He was alluding to that. He asked me whether I did this job to be a second once in a while.
And what did you
say?
But
actually, I didn't want to do that, because I know that if you want to coach a player these days, you have to work very hard.
Yeah, and obviously with the computer prep, it's a different world these days.
It's not actually what I'm aiming to do. It's simply too much work, and I don't think it's that interesting to work so hard on openings. I preferred the old days when I could just experiment as much as I wanted.
Yeah, and in a sense, when you design your endgame studies, you still get to do that, right?
Oh yes, I'm very busy making endgame studies, and I actually just a couple of weeks ago I finished a book about endgame studies.
Your creation? Or...
Well, actually, it is the title of the book is the 100 endgame studies you must know.
Ah, great. Well, is it?
So
will
it's
it be
basically like the La Villa book, which is 100 endgames you must know. But this is the 100 endgame studies you must know. Of course, there are 2 of my own studies in the book.
Brilliant,
but not that many.
And is that with New in Chess?
Yes, it will be published soon.
Oh wow, that sounds amazing. That's really exciting. I'll definitely be checking that out. Now,
yes.
Jan, I had a question for you. So obviously 6 hours later in the Netherlands than in Toronto. So I've asked you previously when we chatted about candidates how you follow, and I know that generally you follow the games without distraction, but I'm curious if you're staying up for these games and also whether you're tuning into broadcasts at all this time around.
No, I don't stay. Sometimes I stay up. It depends. If I cannot sleep, then I just I get up from bed and I just see what happens. Like last night, I was just very curious to see what happens. But I don't look at comments in the broadcast. So I just look at the moves.
Okay.
And the computer evaluation.
Okay, but you do have the evaluation on?
Yes, of course I have. Yeah.
And there's been a lot of talk, Jan. People are quite pleasantly surprised, myself included, with the wide variety of openings we've seen, even when it's an expected opening like the Roy Lopez in Nepo Gukesh yesterday. You get like a Kozio, or you got Prague playing like the delayed Schliemann earlier in the tournament. Have the unusual opening choices surprised you as well?
Well, yes, that Schliemann opening of Prague, that really surprised me, but it's very interesting stuff, and I think that I will study it because it's just out of curiosity, and I was actually very surprised, but it seems to work for black. Although it looks very scary to play that.
Yeah, yeah, not for the faint of heart. I agree.
No.
And then we've had more examples, of course. Some unusual Sicilians. Have there been any other openings or favorite games of yours from so far?
Well, I liked actually the games that Gukesh played. I think also Nepomniachtchi's win against FIDE was quite nice. Quite an interesting game from Berlin wall, which you don't expect to be an interesting game.
Yeah, that was the Knight H2 game, right?
Yes.
Yeah, everything's starting to blend together a little bit, but
yeah.
But I do.
But there are many interesting games. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think actually the game that actually Abasov played quite well against Nakamura yesterday, and he got actually an edge. He got an advantage as black, but then he went wrong in time pressure.
Yeah, I felt like yesterday both Abasov and Firouzja kind of cracked late in the game, and I'm curious, something like that, do you feel like the play, in your experience in candidates, does the play degrade later in tournaments, or do you think that now that they have a chance to reset with the rest day, they might be able to show a bit more stamina?
Well, I think that I played only one candidates tournament because after that and before that there were all matches. So I played in Montpellier in 1985, and that was a long tournament. And I had the feeling that towards the end, players were really exhausted.
Yeah, I mean, so much stress in addition to obviously the high-level competition.
But here, actually, in this tournament, I believe that the players have enough free days.
Yeah, it's a nice pace. So we'll see. And we also reach a point where the incentives change. I mean, Abasov obviously, he probably at some point had a suspicion he's not likely to win the tournament. Firouzja was, I think, hoping for a comeback, but now both are mathematically eliminated. Do you think that will make it challenging for them to put their best foot forward?
I think they will probably still do their utmost to limit the damage, I think, which is normal. You don't want to be lost in the tournament.
Yeah.
That is a very important factor. But I think that for this reason also Gukesh has best chances now because he's playing both Firouzja and Abbasov in the last 4 rounds. So they may be, but they cannot be underestimated, of course. But on paper, he has the best chances now.
Yeah, and even though Nakamura and obviously Nakamura, Prague, Vidit, and Caruana are all close behind, but I sort of feel like Nepo and Gukesh have played the best. Do you agree with that assessment?
Yes, of course. I think it is very justified that they're leading the tournament. Yeah, I think both. I think that actually Nepo just escaped so many times with the black pieces from bad to lost positions, and of course that was also to his credit, of course. But he from that point of view, he was quite lucky. I think with white he's effective, but he's vulnerable with black.
Yeah, they've caught him a couple times. Do you feel like the Petrov is a bit of a stationary target at this point for opponents?
Well, the Petrov, yes, but also, for example, Firouzja played a very quiet game against him, just a flank opening, and he got outplayed in that game.
Yeah, he had him on the ropes, but yeah, Nepo has shown amazing resilience.
Yes, that is true. But so I believe that I'm still more impressed by Gukesh play. But Nepo, of course, he's very experienced.
Yeah.
And he's normally he knows how to play in a candidates tournament. He has proven this twice already.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
And Gukesh had that amazing recovery after that tough loss to Firouzja. I know you've mentioned you've been a fan of his. Did you think that he was going to be able to recover so well from that devastating loss?
Well, he had a rest day.
Yeah, and
that actually worked for him. I read somewhere that he thinks that if you lose a game, it's best to lose before the rest day, because then you have time to recover.
Right.
But he recovered very well. I think that his win against Vidit was a great game. Beautiful combination towards the end. Really impressive.
Yeah, it's been impressive throughout. Can't wait to see how it plays out. Now, Jan, of course, you mentioned most of the candidate cycles you were in were match format. Do you like this tournament format, or do you prefer the match format as a spectator?
I like the tournament format, yeah. But I was getting very used to playing matches. But it takes a lot of energy, and also there's a lot of tension throughout the year if you're playing matches, because you always have to prepare for the next match after winning. So the tournament is actually more convenient because you get over with it immediately, and then you know what you're up to.
Yeah, that makes sense. My only knock against the tournaments is sort of what we're setting up for here at the end, where you will have hugely consequential games where one player is in contention and the other player isn't.
Yeah, that is always a problem. Yeah, that is the advantage of matches. It doesn't happen in matches, and that is actually the main argument to have these matches instead of a tournament.
Yeah, and I honestly myself I go both ways on it. I mean, I because I do for that reason matches appeal to me, but I can't lie, I've been incredibly entertained by this tournament so far. So
yes, but of course matches can also be very entertaining. For example, I remember in 1988 in St. John in Canada, we had all the matches held together, and also in Brussels 1991, for example, and that is actually quite a good idea if you can arrange it that way.
Yeah, just one after another, and it limits the computer preparation these days too, at least to some extent.
Yes, but I think actually of course the computer preparation is very important, but you can still see how lively games can become. For example, in the game Gukesh against Nakamura, the position after 6 moves was unknown in theory.
Yeah, amazing. And even
that's still possible.
Yeah, even in Fabiano's game yesterday, which was a Najdorf on move 7. Fabi played rook g1, and then I think I can't remember what the next move was. It was
H5, I think he played.
Yeah, Firouzja played H5, but then I can't remember White's next move. But within a couple moves, they were in fresh terrain already, which in a Najdorf is especially shocking.
It became some sort of dragon.
Yeah, like the Dragadorf sort of thing, yeah.
And Caruana missed a very nice shot at some point.
Yeah, uncharacteristic.
Yeah. When Black played bishop e6, he could simply take on e6 and e5. It's tremendous combination. It's very sharp, but it's almost winning.
Yeah, a nice little tactic. And I had heard Caruana say earlier he felt like he wasn't playing his best. And I didn't catch yesterday's interview yet, but I suspect even after winning, he would still feel that way.
Yeah, I think that Caruana is simply not in his best form. For example, he played against Abasov with Black, and at some point he had a very strong positional move, and that move was a7, a5 with Black to fix the white pawn on a4. And he has a clear edge if he would have done that. He just let that moment slip away, and that was very unusual for him.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't even know who I'm rooting for, but I do want to see people put their best foot forward at least. So,
well, of course, that's the same with me. Yes, sure.
Hopefully he can turn it around. And as we look ahead to round 11, so we've got Prague with White against Nakamura, FIDE with White against Nepo, Gukesh with White against Caruana, and Firouzja with White against Abasov. Is there a particular game that you think is more likely to have a decisive result?
It's hard to say. I think that we see that in general that there was one round. I think the second round was all decisive results. Apart from that, we see one or two decisions every round. But at this particular moment, I don't dare to say anything about this. I don't want to make predictions.
Yeah. Probably.
But of course, the point is that the two tail enders play each other. That means that the other 3 games are extremely important.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, tomorrow will tell a lot for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Jan, this has been amazing. As we close up, I do have one more question from a listener, which is related to one of your other projects. So this is from Tyron Ross Price, who writes in and says, "Thanks for all of your books, Jan. Do you have any plans to expand Timman's Titans to include Kramnik and Anand? And would you consider making an exception for someone like Korchnoi, who, of course, did not win the World Championship as the others in the book did?"
Well, I think then I would have to write a new book.
Yeah. For Korchnoi?
If I would include Korchnoi, Kramnik, Anand, it would be different. But of course, it's true. It would be very interesting to write about Korchnoi. And I think actually what would also be an interesting book is to write about Kasparov, just to make a collection of his best games.
Oh, that would be, yeah.
That is one of the plans I'm thinking about. I'm not sure.
Yeah, are you kind of in between projects now as you finish up 100 endgame studies, you must know?
I don't know what I will do.
Okay.
There are different options, but I have written many books now, just every year one book almost. So I take it easy for the moment, and I'm thinking about a new project.
Okay, sounds justified. Well, Jan, again, always an honor to speak with you. As we think about saying goodbye, do you have any final thoughts on the FIDE candidates at this moment that you would like to share?
Yes, I think I'm very happy with the tournament. It's a tremendous tournament. But the only thing that I dislike is that Magnus is out of the cycle.
Yeah, it is disappointing.
I'm a bit disappointed that FIDE hasn't tried to get him involved in any sort of way, but they should have done this a long time ago already.
Yeah, well, the question always comes down to chess fans end up arguing about if they would have to make fundamental change to the format. For example, Magnus has proposed things like 2 game 60 games per day and 4 game mini matches as instead of the classical format. Like, do you think FIDE should be willing to bend that far?
No, I don't think so. No, this is classical chess.
Yeah.
But I think that they could have tried to persuade him to participate in a tournament for the World Championship, double round 10 players.
Oh, that would be fun. Yeah.
Yes, that would have been quite interesting, but it's too late now.
Yeah, it should. My hope as a fan is that if someone from the younger generation wins, or possibly Nakamura, that they can agree on a sort of format to Magnus's liking. And obviously, you still have the candidate cycle. Like, you can't just ignore Ding, but maybe he can be brought back into the fold somehow. Magnus can.
That would be great if it would succeed. Yes.
Yeah. So, are you sticking with? I guess you have no reason to alter your Gukesh prediction based on what we've seen.
No, not really. No.
Yeah. And then
I think that he's a great, interesting player.
Yeah, and I would love to see someone that young win it. That would be, and obviously seems like a great kid. So that would be a lot of fun. And how do you feel like someone, like if it were Nepo or Gukesh, how would you like their chances against Ding?
Oh, they both have quite good chances, I think. Yeah. Just depends how Ding is doing, how his mental state is, and if he's really up to a fight.
Yeah, it's hard to know from the outside looking in.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Grandmaster Timman, it's always an honor. Really appreciate you sharing your experience and perspective, as always.
Okay. All the best.
Okay.
Bye.
Have a good day. Enjoy the tournament.
Bye-bye.
Bye.